What's going on, guys? Sorry for the little delay there. So tonight, you know, I want to talk about something that's, you know, um, it's going to be important this coming year. It's really something that we really need to talk about a little more, if I had to say. See, if I own a home here in Queens or Brooklyn or the city, and I was planning to sell it here this year, I would not do what most homeowners are doing right now. And that mistake could actually cost you tens of thousands of dollars. So let me walk you through exactly what I do instead, right? So the market has shifted. You know, we're not in 2021 anymore, but we're also not in a severe decline of home values or anything like that. 2026 sellers who win are going to be those that are intentional in the market, not reactive. This is the same strategy that I give clients privately before they ever list their home with me, right? The first thing that I would do is I'd start with timing, not price. See, most sellers, they obsess over the price first, and that's actually a little bit backwards. Hear me out, right? I'd ask, what's my ideal moving date? Do I need proceeds from the sale for my next home? Am I trying to maximize price or am I trying to minimize stress? And is there like a middle ground? You know, Timing controls leverage, buyer competition, and it controls negotiation power. You know, um, at the end of the day, the best price comes from the right moment, not just the right number. So that's something that I'd be considering, right? Number two, I would prepare strategically. I would not over renovate. I wouldn't renovate emotionally. I'd renovate financially. I would focus on, you know, first impressions, which mean the world. Simple things like not like a light, neutral presentation of the home. Fixes that remove objections. Um, not perfection. Some updates they might get you $3 back for every dollar that you spend. Others others get you nothing. So, at the end of the day, every single home is different. What works on one block can totally flop on the next one. So keep that in mind when I would keep that in mind if I was selling my home. The third thing I would focus on the third thing I would focus on is I price for momentum, not ego overpricing in today's market, which is actually a silent killer of listings. You see, I want, you know, the strong first 14 days. That's maximum buyer activity time. Multiple interested parties. Even if it doesn't end up being a bidding war, price reductions are where you're being more reactive. Smart pricing from the beginning, that's being proactive. And it could actually benefit, or it would benefit in that situation. Step four is I demand a real marketing plan, not just photos, definitely not just phone pics. It would be a full launch strategy that I'd be looking for in an agent. I'd ask, how are you creating urgency? Where are buyers going to see my home? How are you going to control the narrative of my home? Um, Marketing isn't just exposure. What it really is it's positioning. So, you want to make sure that the person that you're entrusting your home to can bring that home, you know? So, if this were my home, I wouldn't guess. I wouldn't rely on, some of the websites out there. I wouldn't rely just on Zillow. And I definitely wouldn't leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table by winging it. I would trust a true professional to really help me and guide me through this whole thing. So, at the end of the day, if you're even thinking about selling in 2026, I would be happy to walk you through this exact plan for your specific home. No pressure, no obligation, and what I would like to do is make sure that you leave that meeting with a plan in place. So, if this resonates with you or you know somebody that could use this information, comment plan and I'll message you. And comment value if you just want to know what your home could sell for in today's market. At the end of the day, every single home is different. And it's something that you have to analyze and really understand before you even, get things moving when it comes to it. At the end of the day, pricing, especially in the market that we're in, it really, you'll see that homes sit on the market if you don't do it right. So, if you want, I can actually help you establish the right price right from the very beginning. So, keep that in mind. You know, at the end of the day, it's important for you to know what you're getting yourself into. It's important for expectations to be set. So if I was selling my home now, that's what I would want. I would want expectations set right from the jump. I wouldn't want any guessing. I wouldn't want, someone that when I meet with them, I wouldn't want somebody that's guessing a price or giving me price just based on experience or whatever other term might be used. I want to see numbers. And I'm more of a big picture person myself, but I understand that there's one thing between saying a number and there's another between knowing and showing numbers. You need to have a real analysis of what's going on, what factors are impacting my neighborhood. What did I would love to see, oh, look, my neighbor across the street is selling for, $1.3 million. But the key thing is they're selling for $1.3 million. So I wouldn't compare my home to active listing prices. I would be comparing my home to closed sales prices. And I would hold off the ego because I know that my blood, sweat and tears went into this home. I know the repairs I did, I know all the costs behind all that. I would put that to the side because once you start factoring that in, that's where mistakes happen at the beginning. People try to price all these emotional things into the price of the home, and at the end of the day, the market speaks for itself. When you hit the right price, when you're in the right arena, right? When you're in a competitive price environment, the market is going to tell you whether you did it right or you did it wrong. You know, People, as a home seller, I would understand that a fear that I have, and it's a very common fear, is a fear of pricing my home too low. And that's a very natural fear to have. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's a lot of sweat, blood, and tears to get your home and to, create it and renovate it and make it your own. I understand all that. But when you factor in what the marketplace is saying, that is the reality. You have three prices when you're sitting at a table with the real estate agent. You have the price in your mind, you have the price in the agent's mind, and then you have, well, let's count it. We actually have four. Then you have the market's price. That's the one that's actually going to sell your home, right? What the market values your home at, that is the actual price, right? The little caveat, the fourth price that I am talking about is actually the bank. It's your built-in protection. When people are as a buyer, if you're thinking about purchasing a home and you're worried about overpaying for it, then one of the things that is kind of like that buffer is the appraisal from a bank. They're going to look at the home and see if they agree with what the market is saying and with what, the overall price is actually going to be, right? And as a seller, you need to keep that in mind too, because if let's say you're reaching for the sky and the stars and that price doesn't match up with comparable sales, then at the end of the day, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because even if a buyer were to agree to your 1.3 million dollar situation, let's just say as an example here, and they agreed to it, but the bank says that the home is worth 1.1 or 1.2, that's where you have another obstacle in a deal that you could have avoided by having that accurate pricing up front. So as a seller, although I know all the sacrifices, all the things that I put into the home, I would come to a realistic expectation because I know that I would be harming myself in two different places when I would be overpricing my home. In the scenario one, where you're helping your neighbor sell, because buyers are armed with knowledge all over the place. They could see what's sold. They have agents that they hire um, to do an analysis for them, because when a buyer's agent is representing them, they're doing kind of the same thing in terms of the representation and making sure that um, they do an analysis for their buyer and tell them, hey, listen, this is the offer we should make. This is what homes in the area are selling for. So they have that knowledge. They're not just guessing, right? They're being guided as well. And so you're helping other neighbors sell that might be priced competitively, right? So that's one. And number two is where you have a built-in issue when there's an appraisal issue down the road, if there was to be one. But that's a scenario that a lot of sellers don't think about, and it's a mistake that I've seen time and time again. Right? I've lost deals like that. I've had where another agent's going to tell them that the listing is exorbitantly worth more than what I said, and then push comes to shove, there are offers, there's an accepted offer, there's under contract, and then the appraisal doesn't pull through, deal dies, and then over time you just lost a bunch of time there. You have to put it back on the market, and now people, days on market are getting longer. It's not, you missed the window of that first 14 to 21 day hot window to get your home sold, and then you're stuck there with your home. And you help your neighbor sell, and now you're going to come to the realization, because the market just spoke to you, where you're going to see that you're going to have to chase the market. You're going to have to continue to reduce the price until you get that competitive pricing just right. As real estate agents, what we talk about, behind the scenes, is that the right price will sell any home, and we mean that. It could be the worst home ever, and if it's put at the right price, if it reflects that, then it's going to sell, because the market will speak for itself. I'm not, there are some homes that are unsellable that would have to be sold through a cash transaction, but again, the right price sells a home. It's one of the main factors that you can control, right? You can control, as a seller, you can control the condition of your home to a certain extent, right? You can control the appearance of the home, right? And then you can control pricing. You cannot control location, right? And you can't really control, you know, adding any square footage to the property or anything like that. I mean, you technically could, but remember, don't be alarmed. Don't go into renovation mode to sell, because you have to make sure that what you're doing is worth the return on that investment. So as a seller, that's what I would be focused on. I would be focused on all those other things before, thinking that a maximum price is what I'm looking at. No, no. What I'm looking at is, what are buyers paying for this type of property? And if the number is not one that you would be okay with, meaning that, let's say you did get that number, right? That the agent tells you your home is worth 1.2. You have to do some math with your agent, with your CPA, and find out, is this going to work for what my plans are? Because if you were planning on upsizing, right, and you have a 3% mortgage and you still owe a lot on your mortgage, and you look at what a monthly payment would be on a new home, even with your equity here, purchasing another property, and the monthly payments are just way too high, where you'd be either living house rich and lifestyle poor, or it's just something that can't be done because you can't, either you don't qualify for the mortgage with that, or it's just you would be, up to your eyeballs in debt, and you wouldn't be able to, really support that lifestyle. So you want to make sure that you really have an analysis on pricing, and also what that pricing means to you at the end of the day. What are you walking away with? So one of the things that we offer is what we call a seller net sheet, which breaks down basically the costs that are associated with the sale of a home, right? So it breaks down. If you want one, please feel free to comment net sheet below. I'll make sure to send it over to you, where you can mess around with it. And basically what it is it's an Excel sheet, so it's plug and play. It'll do the math for you, and based on the based on the amount, based on, I'm sorry, all the fees, everything that's there, it's going to, and minus your mortgage, it's going to tell you what you're going to walk away with at the end of the day. Does that number work for you? Right? That's number one. Is it going to help you achieve those goals? Whoa, we got a lot. We got a lot of things going on here. Right? Hold on. That's the cool thing about being live, right? So you want to make sure that the number works for what your plans are at the end of the day. And also, there's the other thing. If you're downsizing and that number actually works out for you, where you're actually going to walk away with enough money to purchase the property that you want, or sometimes it works in the upsizing, and the upgrading of a home, but you want to make sure, not sometimes, it happens a lot, but you have to crunch the numbers and make sure that where you're going to, you'll be able to go to based on what you sell for and what you walk away with. So as a seller, those would be the main things that I would focus on, instead of just obsessing over the price that I thought the house should sell for, or my house is so much better than my neighbors. Just slow down. It might be, but the market is going to talk to you at the end of the day. So listen to it. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. But please feel free to share this with somebody that could use this information. And if you need anything at all, if you have any questions about what we talked about tonight or today, whenever you see this, or you'd like any of the things that I mentioned that would be of value to you from this video, comment below or DM me directly, and make sure to share. Sharing is caring at the end of the day. So hopefully you guys can get a little more, more in depth, get more knowledge, prepare for your home sale. But this is the year where you really have to take a proactive stance when it comes to getting your home on the market. You have to price it right. You have to price it competitively. You guys see that the interest rates just went down, as of this recording, this past Friday, to below 6%. It was like 5.99%. They rose a little bit again. But what that helps actually is it brings more buyers into the marketplace. So you're going to have more people that are going to be qualifying for properties. So when you price your home correctly, now you have a bigger pool. So if you price your home correctly, now you're going to have access to a market of buyers that have been hungry. They've been waiting. They need that inventory, right? And I've been working with buyers that have been looking for years in certain places, places like Forest Hills, or Bayside, Little Neck, Douglaston, Astoria. You got some in Bushwick, Williamsburg, uh, you know, Ocean Hill, Cypress Hills. Um, you know, um, there's there's just a lot of different places that people are looking, and there's stuff on the market, but it's not what they're looking for, right? Or it's not the price that they're looking for. And a lot of people are going to be talking about waiting until the spring, but remember that when you're hanging around anybody else that has real estate on their mind, that concept of waiting till spring is going to be there. It's going to be something that's discussed. So when we're talking about this is another thing that I would think about as a seller is, do I want to get my home on the market now, where I know that selling a home is going to take 60 to 90 days, which brings me out already to April if we're selling this in January, right? If we were lucky enough to find a buyer today, 60 to 90 days moving forward, right? Of course, there's cash deals and there's some lenders that can move quicker, but let's go with 60 to 90 days. Sometimes it could be a delay, title issue with the bank, whole bunch of stuff. So it's going to be longer time. So now, instead of waiting till the spring and pushing that sale into the summer and into the school year, maybe you want to get this done before the kiddos are back to school and all that. Instead of doing that, by being proactive and getting this moving now, getting the numbers, knowing the net sheet, knowing what you're walking away with, having the plan of where you're going, maybe speaking to your favorite real estate agent who can connect you with an agent in the areas that you want to move to, right? Because you want boots on the ground. You want, if you're, let's say you're looking to move to Boynton Beach, Florida, you want to be able to look at properties over there in the least cumbersome way possible. We have agents that will help you with, virtual tours. They'll be there. They'll look at the property. They'll, through WhatsApp, you could see the property, FaceTime. different ways that we've done it in the past, where you want that. You want to have that plan in motion now. It's never too soon to prepare or to start asking questions about a real estate transaction. Because I know at the end of the day, a real estate move or trusting your real estate with somebody is something we take as an honor, right? Because it's the largest investment. Sometimes, sometimes it's the largest investment you'll ever make. Other times, it's one of the largest. So we don't take it lightly. We want to make sure that you're serviced and that you're armed with all the knowledge that you need before you make a move. And by getting this knowledge up front, you'll be better prepared to decide, Dave, you're right. Let's get the home on the market now so we could be moving in April and May. Because you could do things simultaneously. You could start shopping for a home and selling your home at the same time, because time frames are part of what we negotiate in offers. So that brings me back to what we were talking about. If I was a seller in 2026 where I want to move, let's say to Florida, right? Or Phoenix or California, and I have a specific date that I want to move by, then what I would make sure to do is to start looking at properties, virtually, right? With find an agent that I trust somewhere else, right? Which is a great thing, because if you were to reach out to me, we have an expansive network through Keller Williams where we can actually, you know, connect you with top professionals across the country, domestically, internationally. You can call me International Dave, um, to make sure that you have somebody over there that can actually walk you through the homes that are available, the inventory that's available. And here you have your trusted real estate professional who's going to guide you through, what the steps are here. And regarding price is one thing, but terms is another part of the negotiation. So if we need to negotiate timeframes, that also plays into a role. And that's where the limited inventory helps you again. Because buyers who have been pent up, who have, been burned, who have not been able to purchase anything, the ones who've lost out on multiple deals. We've had buyers that have lost out on several homes that end up working with us because they're like, all right, I've struck out left and right. Maybe just going online and looking at homes and doing this and reaching out to 10,000 agents isn't the best way to do it. Maybe I do need a Dave, or someone on his team. Um, but once we have that plan in place, now you really know. You're not doing the math in March and April, where, oh, well, I don't know, this is what I'm going to walk away with. Should we do it? You can have those conversations now and then decide by March and April if that works in your timeline. But if you want to be moving by the springtime, then this is your window. This is the announcement. You're welcome. All right. So keep those things in mind. And if I was a seller, these are the things that I would be focused on. I'll probably write an article out for you guys a little more, you know, in depth. And also, if you need some relocating guides, to give you an idea of what that would look like, feel free to reach out. If you want to downsize, upsize, if you're dealing with your parents' home, and you need to have those uncomfortable conversations. At least to me, they've been uncomfortable, uh, but they're the conversations we need to have instead of having those conversations when it's an emergency. It's good to have these conversations up front. So as a if I was selling this year, I would be trying to map out everything ahead of time, looking at all my options. Will I sell in January? Will I list in February? Or am I going to wait until the springtime? What is the best route for what I want my, you know, year to look like in terms of moving and all that? You don't want to have to move twice. We have serious conversations about what your plans are, and we set expectations from the beginning. And it's important to have those at the start instead of being disappointed later on. We have to know what plan A is. We need to know what plan B and plan C are as well. And one of the things that is tough, but I would like to have these conversations up front, is if if you can't sell your house, if for some reason it's not going to work, what is plan B? And if you can, but you can't find that other property in the time that you need, what is plan B? We have to go through all those things because life happens. And the same thing, life happens, is also another reason to get on it now, because I know that down the road things are going to be ramping up. There's, winter break for kids. There's, then it's, you know, summer break, then it's vacation time. And then the longer that you delay this, life happens, unexpected things, whatever. You're pushing the timeline instead of taking advantage of a great opportunity in front of you where others are thinking, let's wait. You can be ahead of the crowd. You can take advantage of it now. And honestly, if you know somebody looking to buy, the same goes for them. If they've been struggling to find a home, well, think about it. The weather during this time of year, even though today was nice, is terrible. So the only buyers that are going out during the terrible, terrible winter storms, or, the vortexes or whatever else comes our way, are the serious buyers. So you want to take advantage of that. Winter acts like a filtration system for a lot of buyers out there, because, during the summer, hey, we went out for a walk. Cool, let's go check this open house out. This time of year, that's not that's not the norm. People are not going out and about. They're pent up at home. They're chilling. They're nice and toasty, and they're not going out unless they want something or need to make that move. So weigh your options, and if you need help weighing those options, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to guide you, and I'm here to do the same for those that you care about, that you know, and that you can trust with me. Because at the end of the day, my business is built on trust. It's built on reputation. It's built on my work ethic and transparency. And the only way I can continue doing that is by providing this type of information to you here and in a one on one scenario. So if you don't want to meet up just yet at your house, we have the technological, ways of doing it virtually, whether it's Zoom, WhatsApp. I don't have FaceTime, but Facebook Messenger. Um, we'll find a way. At the end of the day, that's what we need to do, is we find a way, and we can get you that roadmap to get you where you want to go in the time frame that you want to get there. So that's all I got for you guys. I know I went a little long, but I wanted to make sure to get this out to you as quickly as possible, off the cuff, and always here for you guys. So until next time, see you.